We would help. We would help with security because it's, I think, a necessary factor in getting it done. I thought that we were very close with Russia to having a deal. I thought we were very close with Ukraine to having a deal. In fact, other than President Zelenskyy, his people loved the concept of the deal. A little bit complicated because you're cutting up land in a certain way. It's not the easiest thing. It's sort of like a complex real estate deal times 1,000, right? But it's a deal that would have stopped the killing of thousands of lives every month. Thousands and thousands of lives, mostly soldiers. We'll be attending the meeting on Saturday in Europe if we think there's a good chance. And we don't want to waste a lot of time. We think it's negative.
That's President Trump expressing some frustration with both Russia and Ukraine. As peace talks stall between Moscow and Kyiv, Ukrainian President Zelenskyy is set to hold talks with nearly 30 countries over the weekend after sending his revised peace plan to the White House for review. Zelenskyy reportedly not happy that the U.S. pitched a free economic zone in the Donbass region where Ukrainian troops would withdraw and Russian troops would not advance. Heavy fighting raging across the eastern half of Ukraine. Russia now claiming it has captured a major city in the Donetsk region. Joining me now is Heritage Foundation Senior Fellow Steve Yates. Steve, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Your assessment of this situation today.
Well, Maria, President Trump could not have been clearer from the outset about his objectives. Stop the killing, hold the peace, carve out an alternative path to peace and prosperity that keeps us from returning back to this same tragic circumstance. He's worked tirelessly. I've never seen a national security team do this much, travel this much, negotiate this much on a whole range of things in a first year than this one has. This meeting with European leaders hopefully presents some kind of a plan that presents progress. I'm a little bit skeptical because Europe still remains too dependent on Russia economically, and they've had to be dragged kicking and screaming to do what they need to do for themselves and their neighbors. But that's the prerequisite for this holding. If it's going to hold, then Europe's going to have to do more for Europe. America plays a decisive supporting role, but ultimately they also have to put pressure on Putin to make the strategic choice he hasn't made yet to take step one and stop the killing.
I mean, that's really the bottom line here. Somebody's got to really put the pressure on Putin because he says he wants to end this, but he doesn't want to end it because if he did want to end it, we would see more conciliation and sort of concessions. Isn't that right?
Absolutely true. I mean, it's just a sad fact of the world that the bloody-minded people have a wide berth of opportunities and options. It's the people who want the peace and to stop the killing who have to work extra hard. And really, unless you have decisive leverage, you're not really moving tough leaders like Putin or Xi Jinping in China and the like.
Yeah. Meanwhile, a new top-secret report from the Pentagon is warning that the U.S. military would likely suffer defeat to China if it intervened in a war over Taiwan. The New York Times reporting on the overmatch brief, a multi-year assessment of how this conflict could play out, Steve. The Independent writes this. The report recently delivered to senior White House officials said China's rapidly maturing arsenal, particularly its long-range precision missiles, expanding fleet of advanced aircraft, large surface vessels, and its counter-space capabilities now places U.S. forces at a significant operational disadvantage in the region. Steve, your reaction?
Well, first, Maria, I spent a generation in government and out of government on these things, and a lot of times these wargaming exercises are meant to influence more than inform, somewhat like intelligence can be generally. But the net effect of this, if it urges the United States and our allies to do more, to be better prepared, China spent a long time getting pretty far ahead to bring capabilities to bear. We do have to play some degrees of catch-up. However, I do think that our vital ally in Japan is doing more. Taiwan is trying to invest more and do more. And the United States has a strategy to balance a little bit more of these capabilities that I think should complicate things for China, especially in applied technology to weaponry. We're racing ahead in that area, hopefully in time to deter and keep the peace.
I mean, look, there's something called the Davidson window, which, of course, you know, and that is Admiral Davidson suggesting that China will go into Taiwan in 2027, 2028. If they were to go in sooner than that, what is your conviction that the U.S. Could actually compete and actually stop China from overtaking Taiwan right now, before 27, 28?
Right. Well, that's the reality of what we've lived with for some time, and especially now. China could destroy Taiwan if it chooses. It has overwhelming missile and other capabilities that could wipe things out. I don't know that that is any kind of a victory for Xi Jinping or the People's Republic. They also can inflict pain. They've done that by disruption with the blockade exercises, other forms of coercion. To actually go in and occupy Taiwan for some time, I actually don't favor China's odds. The Taiwanese people are tough and hard to govern. They've come out of 50 years of being a Japanese colony with their own identity, 25 years of brutal martial law with their own identity and freedom and democracy movement. And Japan has made very, very clear that should China move in this way, the reality is 50% of the world's container shipping goes in these strategic waterways. It would be a cataclysmic economic event that would infringe upon Japan's national interests, but also many others. So China has to be very cautious. Rhetorically, a lot of hubris, but I don't like their odds if they push too soon.
All right. Well, look, that's one reason that U.S. and Japanese forces are carrying out joint military drills this week after China and Russia were patrolling the region. Japan reporting bombers from both countries flew near the western part of the country. No airspace was violated, but Tokyo was scrambling fighter jets in response. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt commented on it yesterday. Watch this.
With respect to Japan and China, the president has a phenomenal relationship with the new Prime Minister of Japan. They continue to be engaged with one another, and Japan is a great ally of the United States. The president also has a good working relationship with President Xi, which he believes is a good thing for our country, and he believes that the United States should be in a position to have a good working relationship with China while maintaining our very strong alliance with Japan.
Well, Steve, it's very important what the president has done here to align with other Asian nations, particularly Japan, to strengthen the unity against China.
It is, Maria, and by far Japan is our most important alliance in the Asia-Pacific, particularly because we have such great overlap in national interests, but also we have a tremendous opportunity with the new prime minister with a real vision to make Japan an even more valuable contributor to the region. What Japan is doing to cooperate with the Philippines, with or without the United States, helps emphasize that first island chain that the new national security strategy the White House put out was making clear is vitally important to all of us. These exercises show that we're going to be together with our allies in air power and sea power, and that Japan is a moderating force for peace and prosperity. That's a great balance and a good deterrent message to keep that window you were talking about 2027 in the proper perspective.
All right, Steve, we'll leave it there and keep watching it all. Thanks so much for weighing in. Steve Yates, good to see you, sir.